Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 31 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we're going to work on producing belts. Enjoy. However, one thing we can research is the next tier of logistics. So now we have our third transport belt that can do 30 items per second. It needs bronze, which we are already creating. We haven't hooked it up to anything yet, but we are creating it. Steel gears, which we have, and the other transport belts. Oh, and look at that, the fast loader as well. And there's no reason why we can't make those, so that'll be a fun upgrade. So let's research this, and then build it. After looking at this, it looks like at full blast this will produce 4 phosphorus ore per second, which does actually require this whole belt. So, no need to do that business. As far as logistics go, we don't necessarily need to wait for this to be finished before we start building all of our belts. That'll be the third step. So we'll start with fast splitters. Let's just say compute it by factory in 1, which requires regular splitters. And actually, we can go in here, set that to assembly machine 2. And this one requires basic splitters. And it requires a whole mess of stuff. I don't really care what the ratios are, because this is just going to be a 1 to 1 to 1 just for simplicity's sake. It doesn't need to produce materials so fast in a balanced setup. So I'm just doing this just to find out how many inserters we need for each machine. We'll go back here and do the same thing with undergrounds. So half to 1 seems to be what works. Which that's actually not a bad ratio. It means that if we pick up resources out of a box making, say, these ones, half of them will go up here and the other half can go in the box. That's actually not that bad. Not that bad of a deal. And then the last thing we need, red belts. Now this is the part that gets a little tricky because belts go into undergrounds and they go into splitters. So there is some merit in having belts at a faster pace than just one machine. Well, let's just set that up there then and find out how many machines would we need for yellows. Looks like 2. And how many would we need for whites? Also 2. Okay, logistics is done. I'll let the base catch up. Brainstorming how to do this. It's not the easiest of thing to do cleanly. I think I'll do 1 to 1 to 1 and hope I don't regret it. Okay, so we're gonna have 9 machines basically in a square. So the first guy will produce transport belts. This one can do the undergrounds. That one can do the splitters. Something like that. Then there will be a chest in the middle. So this will have inserters. Let's just make a few. Inserting down, up. These will have limiters on them. And then it will also feed into the next series of machines. Let's say something like that. And then it will kind of continue like that. There will be machine right there, machine right there. And then up there and up there. Something like that. Well, let's see how it works. Let's look for some common elements here. Wood and stone, plate, engine, and wood, copper cable, gear wheels. So, nothing particularly convenient. So let's put engines and gears. Let's just do engines and plates. And we'll do them on that one, I guess. And then we could do wood and stone on that one. Then we have to insert copper cable. I don't think it's going to require enough copper cable to really be a problem. So 1.5. It's just one machine worth. One in, one out. So we can do something like this. Copper cable, and then have like a long-handed inserter just hanging out right here to throw it between them. Although it's going to have to be right there. And this is going to have to be right here. So, let's see, wood and stone. Okay, so we also need gear wheels for this guy. Probably also need them over here, don't we? All the way down here. Sure, let's go down here. Although, we're going to want some chests in here. Right in the middle. But we can gain more space by spacing them out. We can do long-handed, long-handed. Iron plates and engines, tin plates and motors. We already have the gears, so tin plates. So we need iron plates, tin plates, and then those two. So that's like 2 sets of belts. So one belt can come in here, and the other one for that. Actually, we don't need boxes there at all. Steel and bronze, steel and bronze, steel and bronze, and also circuit boards. How much steel and bronze? More than we can possibly give it. Okay, I think it's basically done. Let's give it some power and some light so we can look at it. Something like that. Try to make it as simple as possible while getting the job done. It's mostly balanced. There's some inserter limitations and it needs more belt assemblers, but these things get so complicated that when you really want to produce this stuff quickly, it's more of a job for bots rather than belts, because belts just get really complicated. But I think that should be good enough to work. So we're going to have to hook it up and do a lot of belt foo to get all the belts in here. But it should work. Where to place it? Well, this continues down there, so let's place it up here. If it'll fit, yeah. Okay, it's backwards. Okay, there we go. And can we line it up? Should be able to. Let's go with this. Well, I could already see a small problem that some of these belts are the wrong colors. But we'll get that taken care of. Once this whole setup starts firing up, then we won't have to handcraft belts anymore, so that'll make it a little easier to fix all this. I'm gonna have to get real creative with this. Super creative. It happens sometimes when the belts just don't line up the way you'd want them to. And then things get interesting. That's half the puzzle of Factorio, is finding a way for all these belts to fit. Okay, will this produce? Looks like it, but it needs more inserter. So why isn't this one going? Ah, yes, the gear wheels. Okay. Those can come up fairly easily. I think that's all this one needs to be. Also, this is kind of a lesson of why you don't want your bus to become too big and too complicated, because it can be almost impossible to route all of these materials everywhere. And when it gets to that point, then you basically need a separate bus, more than one bus, so you don't have too much stuff in too small of an area. This is pretty normal, at least for me. I don't like it to be that way, but it always seems to turn out that way. And that made our 100 belts already. And it made our 50 undergrounds. Excellent. See, even just having one machine is pretty fast. It's interesting how our base went from producing just these white belts automatically to now it's producing yellow and red automatically. So that's a pretty big jump in convenience factor. Okay, so on this belt, looks like we need tin and iron. Looks like we need at least one more inserter here. I didn't check to see what color belt we might want. Honestly, yellow might work pretty well here. And luckily, when it's two belts into one, we can just use yellow. Okay, so now we need motors and engines. And how many of those do we need? Not a lot, actually. White should work. Looks like this guy needs to be upgraded. It's about as balanced as it could be, considering our resource situation. We're making it as fast as we can. backups or anything. We're just making it as fast as we can. It makes sense that it takes a while when you first start up a new bus because you just have a lot of new belts and machines and chests to fill up, so a lot of buffer needs to happen. So it looks like we need gears and plates. I don't think it really matters which side gets which. Sapphirite is already down to 75%. That has me a little worried. I was thinking we'd have a little bit of time after putting Prospector up, but clearly that is not the case. We're going to have to expand research trains, basically. But at least want to get all of this set up so I don't have to keep handcrafting all this stuff. I know it's a big complicated mess, but as long as machines are running, then that's good. So this machine is going good, filling up with juicy red belts. Then eventually those gears are going to get down here and this one's going to work. So the only thing left is this with basic electronics boards. Doubly want to make sure that none of these things are unrestricted. We don't want them filling up, because that would take all of the resources. Well, it's working. That's good news. Bad news is it's going to take a while to fill everything up. But that's how it goes. That's the end of this episode. In the next one, we're going to work on producing inserters. I'll see you later.